Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Bubble Talk. How's everything going? Yes, I am not in the studio anymore. And those of you who know, Malaysia has gone back into a lockdown. Yeah, we're back in the MCO. So now I am in my house doing this. Before I was 2 weeks in a hotel. Now I'm home by myself. I know my roommates went back to their hometown. So yes, we're going to be at least the next 2 weeks, we're going to be here in the quarantine. Thank you for coming out for the 35th Bubble Talk. Those of you, shout outs to those who came early today and that are chatting in the rooms. You have Yongmin, Puyen, Jim, Evelyn. I know Joe came early too. Everyone, thank you so much for joining early and just kind of chatting it up in the rooms. Let's first take a look at the winner of last week's bubble tea. And this person from Malaysia. Who is it? Pa-bam. No picture? Oh, there you go. All right, so I believe it's Joanne, but she is the winner from last week. Whoa, her picture's going somewhere. There you go. Okay, cool. And we will be giving out some more free bubble tea today. So just guys, right after the talk, there's going to be question and answer. And during that time, I'm going to ask you a question. Then we're going to choose a number of whoever gets that answer right will get the bubble tea. All right, cool. So one last thing before we start, make sure if you have any questions at all, and it can be about the talk, it can be about something else, make sure to just post in the room anytime, right? Anytime during the talk. Don't feel bad chatting during the talk. It's fine. You can say, "Oh, I agree with that. I don't agree with this. This is cool. This is not cool." Any of those things, go ahead and write it down. All feedback is great, and all questions are good too. All right. So, what does that mean? It's time for us to get into today's bubble talk. Now, what is today's topic? It is developing willpower. Okay, so what does this mean today? Willpower. So the first thing I want to, let's talk about something that all of us go through all the time. Okay, everyone goes through this. It is knowing what you should do. Like everyone knows what to do, but the issue is we don't do it. Of course, I'm not saying literally everyone in the world. Most of us, there's a lot of things that we know we should do. But even though we know we should do it, we still don't do it. And this has to do with willpower, right? Majority of the people have an idea what they should be doing, but for some reason they don't do it. And the things we're not supposed to do, we do it, right? We're on a diet. We're not supposed to eat that, but we eat it, right? We're not supposed to say that to our friends, or we know we're supposed to say sorry to our friends, but we don't say it, right? And it's really different because willpower plays such a big role in people's lives. And science has shown us today that this is factual. People who have more willpower are better off in almost every aspect of their life. You're like, what? Like what aspects of the life is going to be that much better if you have more willpower? Number one, people with more willpower are happier. People with willpower are more healthier. People with willpower are more wealthier. They live longer and they have better and longer lasting relationships. And that's just people with, so when you think about it, you're like, wow, I want all those things. But what does it require? It is someone who has more willpower. Willpower, guys, is something that is super important in all of our lives. But the difference, the biggest difference in the welfare and just the well-being of our life is who has more and who has less. Right? So, question, what is willpower? What the heck does willpower mean? Willpower is the ability to control yourself, right? Or if you want to be a little bit more detailed, the ability to control one's own actions, their own emotions, and their urges. That's like a little bit more exact, right? Emotions, actions, and urges. That is what willpower is. That's the ability to control those things. So my question is, can you control yourself? Right? Your own actions, your own emotions. That's a tough one, right? Emotions and urges in those difficult and tough moments. Can you do it? And the answer is, in most cases, not really, right? Even for myself, you talk about something very sensitive, you get really emotional about it, then all of a sudden you just fight. You just fight, right? It's not just about doing it, but willpower is about doing the right thing and not doing the wrong thing, right? It's both. It's about doing and refraining, not doing the things you urge to. Now, how does your brain work when it comes to willpower? Well, you have to understand the brain first in order for you to understand how to get or to train your willpower. Number one is this. The brain first works in, number one is your brain, you have senses, five senses, right? So with your five senses, you're sensing things around you. And what happens is you use your senses, and then your brain gets triggered by something, right? And it's usually something that is really, really good. It feels good. You enjoy it, right? So you sense something good, and you know it's something, it's not just anything, it's something that makes you feel really good. And then what happens next is your brain releases dopamine, right? And when your brain releases dopamine, it makes you want to do it even though you don't want to, right? So what happens is after you release it, boom, you do it. And then what happens after that? You feel guilty, right? Isn't that what always happens? It's like, oh, I shouldn't be eating this. Oh my gosh, dopamine. You're like, ah, and then you start eating it. And then after, you're like, oh, why did I do that? Or it's the things you shouldn't do, like, oh no, I don't want to watch Netflix all day. You watch Netflix all day, and then after that, you just like, oh, I feel so guilty. I feel terrible, right? So, question is, how do you get out of that cycle, and how do you start to train yourself with more and more willpower? And this is a very, very important thing that all of us have to learn. So, what are we gonna do? How do we strengthen our willpower? Right? Well, the one thing to understand is willpower, right? It has to do with your mind, but the great thing about willpower is this. It's like a muscle. It is something you can train, and it is something that you can actually strengthen more and more. So, willpower, if willpower is like a muscle, it means that you have a limited amount of willpower. You do. Just like your muscles have a limited amount of strength, once you reach your limit, you can't lift anymore. And what happens is, the more and more you train your muscles, the more and more power and the more endurance you have. The same with your willpower. If you don't have that much willpower, then every time you lose it, then what happens? Haven't you guys ever had it where you're trying to decide what to order on Grab? Like Grab food, like, oh, what should I order? And you sit there for like 20 minutes, and then eventually you're just so frustrated, you're like, I'll just order this, just order me this. You're so frustrated. Why? You ran out of willpower. In the same way, we have to build upon that willpower, right? You don't want to just eventually buy anything. You have to strengthen, and you have to make it stronger and stronger. So let me tell you this, for myself, as being a pastor, there's a lot of different things that for myself, when it comes to the scriptures, it's very, very wise. Like I'm going to show you one right now in Luke chapter 16, verse 10. Very, very interesting verse that inspires me. And basically it is, whatever you can be trusted with little, you can also be trusted with much. And it makes sense, right? It makes sense that if you can do good with the little things, you can do better with the better things too. And the opposite is, if you can't do well with the small things, how can you be expected to do well with the bigger things, right? You have to train yourself in the to-dos and not to-dos. So I'm going to give you 3 tips today on how to train your willpower. The first thing is training yourself to do. Okay, what is this? The first tip today is combine things. Okay, now combine things, this is training yourself to do something. Now, what does it mean? You can't just tell your mind not to do something. Why? Because think about this, guys. If I just told you right now, don't think about pink elephants, and what's going to happen is your mind's going to be like, pink elephant. Oh no, I can't stop thinking about pink elephants. Pink elephants are everywhere. Why? Your mind doesn't work that way. You can't just say to your mind, all right, don't do this anymore. Why? Because you keep thinking about it. That's what destroys our mind is we say, don't do this, and you just keep thinking about it over and over again, right? What we have to do is we have to think about not just not doing something, but we have to think of doing something instead, okay? So we have to think of those things more. So it's not just easy to sit down and do homework. It isn't, right? Like for us studying, it's not easy just to sit down and study. But what does it mean to combine things? Well, combine it with something you like. For instance, for myself, what do I do every day when I have work and it's a little bit too much on my mind? I take my work to a cafe and I have a really nice latte. What am I doing? I'm combining 2 things. And what's my brain doing? Latte! And dopamine goes, and then I get my stuff excited and I go to the cafe, and there I sit down and I start doing my work, preparing for a bubble talk, preparing for another lecture, preparing for YouTube, right? I'm combining things. And this is one way to get yourself to start doing something, right? For me it's the cafe with a good latte. I'm going to put it together with my bubble talk preparation, and I'll go over to the cafe and I'll start working on it, and it works like a charm, right? Because I'm thinking about the coffee and my dopamine is releasing. So for you guys too, combine it with things that you really, really enjoy. So there's one way to train yourself to do things, okay? On the flip side, the second thing we're gonna talk about is training yourself not to do something, or not to go for your urges, okay? And we're gonna go back with that simple verse that we just learned right now is whatever you're good with the little things, you can do with the big things. So start with small things, okay? So it says, whatever you do with trust with little, you can also trust with more. Okay. Oh, one more thing. Let me go back to my first point again. When it talks about combining things, this will help you a lot more too, because some things can be a little bit more sentimental, and they can actually be a little bit more powerful to you when it talks about combining. Now, I'm gonna just share this one more point that I forgot to tell you about is doing something, but the meaning behind it is much more powerful. Like, what the heck does that mean? So if I look at Colossians chapter 3, verse 23, this is a very good verse that I like too. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, for human master. Okay, so for me, as someone with faith, I'm thinking about something that's even more powerful or more inspiring to me. It's like, oh, I gotta do it for God. Then it inspires me to do something that I don't really want to do either, right? It's like this, you have homework and then your mother. And you know what? Those things don't really come together. Like, what does homework need to do with my mother? Well, it could be, well, I want to see my mom smile every day. So I'm going to do my homework every day just to make my mom smile, right? She's had too much difficulty during the day, but I want to see her smile. And you combine sentimental things, which is a very, very powerful, important thing also, right? So, and what's going to happen is you're going to train yourself to do, and you're giving yourself something that's a dopamine shot because it's something you really want, like seeing your mom smile, getting myself a coffee, getting myself a nice latte, okay? So that's number one. Number two to go into is train to restrain, okay? Train to restrain, which is training yourself not to do urges, okay? So we're going to go back to that simple concept of whatever you do good with the little things, you do with the bigger things too. For instance, some people might be like really the urges for like candy or chocolate or ice cream, right? Or something along that line. And what you do is you have a forbidden candy jar, and you have it in a place where you can always see it, right? And it's something very, very small, right? You want to start with something small, right? And you keep it there, and the whole idea is not to touch it. That's the whole idea. And what you're actually doing is you are literally training your mind and your heart to resist urges because you like it. But it's not that big, right? It's just like candy or chocolate, whatever it is, and you put that. Like, I'll tell you one thing that I did when I was a pastor in a church in New York. I had a box that every day I bought one I put into the box. It was candies, chocolates. All the kids loved to come into my room. I never touched it, but the box was right there, full of chips, chocolate, candy, everything else. Never ate it. My whole goal was to fill it up as much as I could. And eventually in the end, I just give it away to the kids, which the parents didn't really like, but I just gave it away to the kids, right? And that's something you can do is train yourself not to go into your urges, training your willpower so that with the small things you can resist. If that makes sense. Does it make sense, guys? Good. Okay. Which leads us to the last one, but the most important one out of them all. Okay? Train yourself to finish things. And this is something, guys, that is really, really, really important for everyone here. You have to understand is you have to train your mind. You have to train your willpower that you have to keep getting used to finishing things, right? Your willpower actually grows the most when you set out to do something and you actually finish it, no matter how difficult, no matter how hard it is, right? This is something that, actually, this is not just me, but many people with faith and without faith use this verse a lot. It's in Luke chapter 14, 28, 29. It says, if one of you wants to build a tower, aren't you going to first sit down, estimate the cost, see if you have enough money, then you complete it? Because if you lay the foundation and you're about to build it, but you only build it halfway, everyone's going to look at you like, look at this guy. He tried to build a tower. He wasn't wise enough. He couldn't even do the whole thing. Oh my gosh, how embarrassing is that? That's what happens. What we need to realize is you have to train your mind and your heart to finish things. And it's like that first that first thing that we talked about, that first verse is start with small things, very small things. You have to consciously finish what you set out to do. And that's why I set out small things first. Don't leave it till tomorrow, right? Like it says, complete it no matter what, right? Start with small things to build yourself. Let me give an example. Some people make, they have a daily task, like doing a journal or a diary. And guess what's going to happen, guys? Yeah. On the easy days when there's no interruptions, on the easy days when there's nothing, there's not busy, when you're not tired, it's easy, which means you're going to do it. That's a normal, common thing. What should you, it's not going to be something like, oh my gosh, wow, you just amazing. Think about it. If I play basketball against a 5-year-old and I won, is it something to brag about? And the answer is, it's not. It's not. What we have to understand is complete it no matter what means that even on the days I finish my work at midnight, I will still, no matter what, go to my journal and write my journal down. Even if it's just half a page, even if it's not like 10 pages, or if I set out to do, oh, I really have to talk about this, but sometimes you're tired, but you still got to do it, right? It's the people that still do it, no matter what, no matter what is happening in their life. That's the time when you're really training your willpower. Right? Small things. I know some people who set out to say, you know what, I'm going to do 100 push-ups a day. Some people do that, and what happens is it's easy on the days you have time. It's easy on the days that is not busy. It's easy. You have to complete it no matter what. Got to count the cost for something this small. Right? 100 push-ups, it's going to take you 20 minutes. Not even 20 minutes. It should probably take you roughly around 10 minutes to do 100 push-ups. Right? So it's like, what? It's like, oh my gosh, no. It's easy to complete when there's no interruptions and you're not busy, right? You have to do it no matter what, no matter how hard it is. Even if you set yourself out to run 10 minutes a day, even if you get home, you go on a trip and you drive for 10 hours, at the end of it, do it, right? You have to get your mind into the mode of completing things constantly. It has to be done. It has to be done. It has to be done. And we're talking about with really, really small things, right? And this is something we have to really understand. You're training your mind. Don't allow yourself to quit. Why? When you don't finish something and you quit, you're breaking down your willpower. And you're kind of making yourself believe that it's okay to just not do it, right? Haven't you ever had that when you're so tired of this and everyone else around you is like, oh man, don't worry about it, just do it tomorrow, right? And everyone around you is giving you a pass. Everyone is. That doesn't mean you should, right? Train your willpower, right? Don't allow yourself to quit, but train yourself to finish things, starting with really, really small things. Like, what am I saying to you guys today? Yes, willpower is a very important thing. We saw all the facts that people with more willpower than others are healthier. They're healthier. They live longer. They're wealthier, right? They have better relationships with people. Like, these are all things that we want. It has to do with willpower. Because we know that when we run out of willpower, what happens to us? We fight more with the people we love. When we run out of willpower, we say the things we shouldn't have said. When we run out of willpower, we don't exercise. We're not healthy anymore. We don't guys, we have to be those people that exercise this willpower so that we can be and living in a better life than we are right now. What is it? Train yourself to do. There's number one, right? Train yourself to do things. Combine it with other things. Number two is train to restrain. What does it mean to train to restrain? Yeah, give yourself something small that you can restrain yourself from every single day. And that small thing will build up your willpower for bigger things in the future. And the last thing more than anything else is train yourself to finish things. Don't allow yourself to quit so early, right? And if you do it this way, I'm telling you guys right now, you're going to build your willpower and you'll be able to finish more things and you'll be able to do even bigger things in the future, okay? I hope you guys really enjoyed today's Bow Talk. It's a little bit of a short one today, but really, really important one of developing your willpower. All right, this means that we're going to come into our time of question and answer. Post your questions. Oh, I forgot to talk about what drinks we're drinking today. I'm drinking something cool because this is brand new for me. It's just a Thai bubble tea shop. It's Thai tea, but this is Thai coffee. which is Thai tea and coffee together. Super delicious, especially without any sugar. Crazy delicious. Either way, I hope you guys are having good drinks. So we're gonna move into our questions of the day. Okay, questions of the day. All right, so let's take a look at the first question. So while during this time, you guys can keep writing your questions in. First question of the day. What does it say? Ooh, it's a little bit loud, the music. Okay. First question of the day is from Stefan in PJ. Okay. It says, what happens if I don't finish something? Does that mean I've trained my body not to finish? And the answer is yes and no. Okay, so if you don't finish something, but if it happens just once, it doesn't mean all of a sudden your entire constitution has come over to that side and now you will never finish anything in your life, right? What happens is if you constantly keep doing this type of thing, what happens is you're going to train your mind to feel that it's okay. Now, if you do it just once, no, it's not going to destroy your life. However, every time you do it, it's going to make your mind more relaxed. And you're going to be more into the, well, last time I didn't do it, and it didn't really bother me. It didn't really affect me that much anyways, right? So that's something that you have to look at and say, okay, so that's something that, it's a yes and a no. What happens if I don't finish something? Yeah, you didn't finish it. It's okay. But does that mean you train your body not to? Well, if you've done it 10 times, you definitely have. But if it's 1 or 2 times, you're able to get back up, and it's easier rather than doing it 10 times and trying to fix it, right? So, Stefan, if it's your first time, it's going to be a little bit, it's not going to be too bad, but if it's continuously all the time, it's very difficult. And what I suggest you to do is start with something very, very, very small first to complete, right? And complete these things step by step with the small things first. Great question, Stefan. All right, let's go to the next question. Next question is from Jessica in Taipei. Jessica in Taipei says what? I'm very good at forgetting what I'm supposed to do, so I just forget because it's not on my mind. Yes, I understand this. How do I get myself to remember if I don't remember, right? So this is a good thing, and this is something that I think that everyone should be doing, and it's something that we should people should be getting used to this, because a lot of times, when I ask people, so how do you schedule things, and they're like this. I schedule everything up here. I'm like, do you remember everything? They're like, well, sometimes I forget. Yeah, and then sometimes I don't prepare. Yeah, and it's not just sometimes. It's more often than not, we don't have that amazing genius memory. And this is why human beings have created something called a scheduler or an organizer, right? It's on your phones, it's on your iPad, it's on all these other different things. I will tell you, when you schedule it from your phone, the hard part is, the reason why doing it from your phone is difficult to be a schedule, to make your phone a scheduler, is because when you look at your phone, the first thing you think about is not your scheduler. It's not. And that's why even if it's on your phone, you tend to forget. And this is why it's better to have a separate scheduler, whether it's something you write in or an extra, like an iPad or a digital thing that's separate from it, where you look at it and it's a scheduler, right? You should be looking at it at the end of the day to see you did everything, and look at the beginning of the day to make sure that you're going to do it. But you're forgetting it because there's too many things going on in life, and sometimes during the day something crazy happens, and what happens then? If something crazy happens, what's going to happen? What does that mean? You're not going to remember anything because your mind is just solely fixed on that emergency or something that's happening. Okay? So what I'm telling you guys is, we have to understand is, schedule it. I'm telling you guys, if you want to remember it on my scheduler, I always set alarms 2 hours before, right? I set my alarm for 3 p.m. on Thursday, begin your prep for Bubble Talk, right? And before that, I have my YouTube channel, other things that I'm doing. And I have a lot of things that I schedule beforehand also, right? So in the same way for you guys too, one thing you should really, really get yourselves used to is scheduling everything, and then you won't forget. Set alarms, or what other people like to do is they like to have certain things that trigger their memories. For instance, they'll have a wristband, right? Do you guys remember before, for me, as someone, I'm a Christian, we used to have these bands called WWJD. It was what would Jesus do? And you'd look at it well, what would Jesus, something that reminds you of something, right? So, some people will have a ring, an elastic band, a band, or something on that remind them, or something to write on their hands, like don't forget, like, oh, I won't forget. But the easiest way is, I would say, is get yourself a scheduler, and it would really, really help you out in that area. Get yourself a scheduler. Okay. So, there's more questions coming in. Perfect. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into, here we go. Shenna and G vlogs. Okay. All right. Oh, I can't see them here. Okay. Here we go. What is the best way to train myself in finishing things? Is it Sheena or Shenna? Maybe it's Sheena. Oh, she got G vlogs. I'm not sure what a G vlog is, but that's a cool name. If that's her real name, Sheena G vlogs. All right. I'm going to call you Sheena for now. If it's wrong, please correct me. What is the best way to train myself in finishing things? Okay, so like I said before, great question, Sheena. What I would do is I would start with something very, very, very small, right? Like I would say this, writing a diary every day, right? And one thing I do suggest is really, really good. It's also good for the positivity of your mind is you have a thankfulness journal, like things you're thankful for. And the good thing about a thankfulness journal is there's no limitation. You could put 1 in it, you could put 10 in it, you could put 50 in it. It's up to you. And you have a thankfulness journal that you have to do every single day, right? Which means what? Which means that it's a small thing that you can even do just one thing that you're thankful for, but it's something that begins to help you to start finishing things. Oh, I got to do my thankfulness thing, which means that if you only need to do one of them, it's not like a huge burden on you either. It's not like, oh, I have to run for 10 hours. No, sorry, not 10 hours. I have to run for 1 hour every day. That is burdensome, and that's something you probably won't get done because it's very unrealistic. But if it's like, I want a thankfulness journal, and every day I'm going to write what I'm thankful for, it could be at least one. Right? And you start with these small things, and what happens is as you begin to train yourself to do it every day, no matter how hard it is, you start adding small things more and more. Once you get very used to doing this thankfulness journal, you move to the next one, right? What's the next one? Well, I'm going to train myself to do 10 push-ups every day. 10 push-ups, 10 sit-ups. And guess what? It takes 5 minutes just to do that. And these are things that you're slowly training your mind to finish things, right? The best way is to start with really, really small things that are beneficial to your life, like exercise, like thankfulness journals, great for your mind, super therapeutic also, right? And of course, and Rosalind just wrote a really nice thing in here. It's like, you have a daily checklist, it's great. It's great to have one of those things to check things off. Actually, checking things off gives you crazy dopamine shots every day. Right? I would even say this, doing your bed. And you're like, doing your bed? Yeah, and actually, for those of you who don't know, there's something called a keystone habit. And keystone habits are habits that are small, but they lead to other parts of your life becoming better, right? And doing your bed is actually a keystone habit that affects other parts of your life in a major way. And what I'm gonna tell you is, in the beginning, just do your bed. And you know what it takes? It takes a minute. Honestly, it takes a minute. And later on, as you're used to it, do it better. And you're like, what? What does that mean? Fold your blankets. Do it like a hotel, right? Do double folds, creases and stuff. Do it in different ways and to raise a level in the things that you're doing. So start small and do it step by step, little by little at a time. All right. So that moves us to the next question of the day, right? Bubble tea quiz. Okay, guys, this is a cool quiz. Today's bubble tea quiz, get this fast. Whoever gets this answer, we're going to tell you, I'm going to put up a number, and whatever number that is, whoever answers it with that number is going to get the bubble tea for today. Now, since today's talk is about willpower, we're going to talk about a famous Will, right? Like an actor named Will, okay? And the question today is, who is the famous Will who was in the movie Aladdin? Go ahead and write in the room, who is the famous Will who was in the movie Aladdin? So it's Will something. So if you guys get this one, go ahead and write it down in the room, and then I'll tell you what number it is, and then we'll tell you who the winners are going to be at the very end of the show. So let's move to the next question. Next question is from It's Me, Sharon in KL. Sharon in KL asks, how can I refrain the urges to break my willpower and give up? Yeah. And once again, it's going to be the exact same the concept is start small, like that cookie jar, like something that something you do like, but you are resisting it every day. Make it sure it's small and easy, right? Small and easy as cookies. I like cookies. You put the cookie in the middle of your room, and the whole idea is don't touch them. You just don't. And what are you doing? You're slowly working on your willpower muscle, bit by bit, right? If you're talking about certain things, your willpower, oh, I gotta stop giving up on this, on really, really big projects or things that you should have done. What's going to happen is you're actually going to you're going to actually falter more because it's just way too big. Let me give you an example. Okay, the example for me is I want to finish reading a book, and for me, this one time I was trying to read the entire Bible, right? So I'm trying to read the entire Bible, but I'm just like going, man, I got to read it like 10 chapters a day. I couldn't do it. And you know what I changed it to? I changed it to 1 verse a day. 1 verse, just 1 verse. 1 verse was my minimum. So that's why I can be so tired. I go, okay. And then they were naked. All right, cool. And then I move on, right? Yeah, all you do is you set your goals every day, but don't make them too huge. Don't make them too big. But you need to split them into very, very small pieces, right? It's the same as eating. Can you imagine if you were born, the moment you're born, God shows you all the food you're going to eat in your entire lifetime. It's an entire mountain of food. You'd be like, there's no way I can eat that. But instead, he's like, hey, here's breakfast. Oh yeah, I'm hungry, and you eat it. Oh, here's lunch. Oh yeah, I'm hungry, and you eat it. Here's dinner. Very, very easy when you break it piece by piece. So you want to do it in very, very small ways. Okay? Is there any more questions here? Next question. Next question is from Hannah Yusun over there in the Philippines. Hannah is asking, sometimes when I challenge myself to do something in an hour, the more I find myself working too slow towards finishing. Haha. Is this because of anxiety? Okay, so sometimes when I challenge myself to do something in an hour, the more I find myself working too slow towards finishing. Okay. It could be anxiety, but sometimes it could be anxiety. Or you could be rushing yourself when you don't need to. And you have to understand, sometimes different people have different motivations. For instance, myself, I'm the person that needs a carrot in front of me. Like someone says, hey, I'll give you this if you do this. Whoa, and I was running towards it because I had that carrot constantly in front of me. That's my motivation. Other people are a little bit different, right? Other people is you need to give them the carrot first. Then they're like, oh my gosh, they gave me a carrot. I really should work hard. And then they'll start working hard. So you need to know yourself really well. And for some people, if you know yourself well too, sometimes it's an unrealistic thing to say 1 hour. Sometimes it is. So when it says do it small, step by step, small doesn't mean, okay, do it in 10 minutes. Small means that most people do this in about an hour, but you know what? I'm going to give myself 90 minutes, right? Because that's just an average, and I might be different than other people, right? So start small is don't give yourself too little of time. Don't make your expectations too high on yourself in the beginning. But the key point is to finish. That's the key point. In an hour, it might be hard. Some people might be easy, some people might be hard. Right? But we have to really understand ourselves really well too. Some people need a dangling carrot, and some people need to be given it right away. Yeah, but as long as it leads towards us finishing. The thing that our brain likes is when we finish. Okay? I hope that helps you out, Hannah. I wonder if there's any more questions for today. Any more questions for today? It feels like, Ayaka. Ayaka in Japan is asking, what about thinking 10 minutes a day rather than clean my room, etc.? Even if I didn't finish the task, I finished the 10 minutes, will that train my willpower? When you say thinking, one thing about this training is your goal cannot be too vague. It can't be too general. Like if you said 10 minutes thinking about how to do this, thinking about a new idea for this, or a new idea for that, right? You have to make it a little bit more specific, because if you just say think for 10 minutes, you know what? Anyone can think for 10 minutes. I just feel like, and then I start thinking about tons of things all the time, right? It's not about, you want to make it a little bit more specific. I'm going to spend 10 minutes thinking about what I can do to make my roommate happy. I'm going to spend 10 minutes thinking about how I can really improve how to get to school earlier, right? You need to have a fixed subject for that, not just regular 10 minutes a day thinking, right? So if you fix it on something, it's much, much better because that is an actual thing that's leading towards something beneficial. If you're thinking about anything, some thoughts are not beneficial, right? Because I could be thinking about like coffee for 10 minutes. It's not really beneficial to me. It's more beneficial for me to drive for 10 minutes and grab my coffee and drink it than just think about coffee, right? So not all thoughts are beneficial, but you want to think about something that is beneficial to you, okay? Thank you, Ayaka. Are there any more questions? I'm not sure because I can't see anything on my screen here. There's nothing moving. Oh, all right. So that was the last question. So let's look at today's winners for today's bubble tea quiz. And we chose today because today is the first for this lockdown having lockdown in my house. Today we chose number 1. So today's bubble tea winners are, who are they? It is, let's see, who is it? It is, congratulations to Ayaka and Chris. Ayaka in Japan, Chris in New Zealand. Please send us an email, espressowithsky@gmail.com to claim your drinks. And everyone else out there, if you are here for the first time, we have a YouTube channel called Espresso with Sky. This is the 35th Bubble Talk. On top of this, Taco Tuesdays. On top of this, we have a lot of other videos that you can see. Just hit the subscribe, smash the notification bell, then you'll know every time we go live and every time we upload a new video. Also, for those of you on Facebook, go click like on the page and also come over to YouTube and watch the other videos that we have also. And those of you who would like to support us on Patreon, go ahead and click the link and you can support this ministry on Patreon. And finally, those of you who would like to do Bible study a little bit in-depth small group, go ahead and sign out the form and we'll send you the Zoom link. It's every Saturday at 1 p.m. Malaysia time. Come out and join us. We're having tons of people everywhere, from Malaysia, from Hong Kong, from Japan, from Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia. They're from everywhere. So go ahead and click it and join us anytime you want. All right. So that means we are at the end of today's Bubble Talk. I hope you guys had an awesome time listening to Developing Your Willpower. And everyone have an amazing night and weekend. And we'll see you again either on Saturday or next Tuesday or Thursday. Everyone have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.